The Sonic movies are good, okay? I want to preface that just right out the gate, get that out of the way, make sure that's the very first thing you hear of this video. I want to preface that I do enjoy both of the two Sonic movies. Yes, they are riddled with problems, and yes, they do aim for a way younger demographic than what the games tend to go for. But at the end of the day, they are harmless, fun kids films. They're filled with great actors, excessive comedy that mostly nails the mark, pretty high production value, and are overall just a good time. And now we have Sonic Movie 3 coming out soon, which looks to be even greater than its two predecessors. It's upping the scale, it is going more in depth to stuff from the games. It looks like a home run already, and this, as we can see, this franchise has been doing really great. You know, critically it's been doing fine, but it's really been prospering when it comes to fan reception and just general audience reception as well. And don't even get me started on all the moolah that the movies are making, okay? Paramount are very happy, evidently so, because of their new plans for this universe. That being to go in the MCU route and greenlight spin-offs after spin-offs and have each sequel be this big, almost Avengers-like spectacle. Is spectacle the right word? Event, rather. This big event that audiences worldwide can gather and witness. So, what's wrong here? There's clearly nothing wrong. The movies are doing great, fans are enjoying them, they're of serviceable quality. I would even argue good quality just for being films on their own. What's the issue? Well, while I have spent this entire video so far expressing why the movies are doing great and why I personally do enjoy them, sometimes it is easy to forget that Sonic the Hedgehog is a video game series, and the majority of us are fans of the video games. That's how we first got into Sonic the Hedgehog, and these video games are home to a plethora of amazing characters, amazing world building, fantastic stories, wonderful themes. I am a Sonic game fan before I'm a Sonic movie fan, okay? Like that's pretty evident. And the issue here is that while these movies are supposed to be adaptations of the source material, I often find that the movies just straight out, I'm just gonna say it, just honestly spit in the face of what the games do. Whether it's characterization, world building, etc., these films do not feel like Sonic the Hedgehog, not in the slightest. And every good adaptation is more than welcome to do their own thing. You know, a lot of adaptations have prospered for actually going their own direction and kind of taking a lot of creative liberties with what they're based on. But these films, I feel, do it to a excessive extent to the point where it does get grating and it does get disappointing as a hardcore Sonic fan. I'm going to go into more detail of what I mean, but before I do, be sure to subscribe, okay? I upload a lot of Sonic videos, we cover a lot of Sonic things, so hit the subscribe button. And if you end up liking the video, leave a like. It helps a ton. With that said, let's start. So in my opinion, the biggest misstep the films take when it comes to adapting the source material is the characterization. Now I know a lot of Sonic fans are really tired of hearing characterization debates, and trust me, I am too, but this stuff is important. These characters are wonderful. They have amazing dynamics, they have amazing arcs, they have amazing relation to the themes of these many adventures that we have the privilege of playing through. As the old saying goes, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And the movies oh boy, do they do the opposite of fixing when it comes to how it portrays its main leads. Starting off with Sonic, I'm just gonna be completely honest. I'm just gonna cut straight to the point. This is not Sonic the Hedgehog, okay? I'm just gonna be as clear as possible. This is as far from Sonic the Hedgehog as you can get. And what do I mean by that? Well, Game Sonic isn't really a traditional character. He is what you would define as a static character. Meaning, he doesn't go through any change or character development himself, but rather, his main goal, his main utilization in the story, is to change the world and people around him. Sonic is someone who throws worries to the wind. He is someone who inspires. He is someone to look up to. He's supposed to feel larger than life. Are you gonna make me say it? I'm gonna say it. He's supposed to be the embodiment of the wind. He's supposed to be a force of nature, not an actual person. Physically, he's an actual person, but story-wise, narratively, he's supposed to be something much greater. And Movie Sonic misses the mark completely on that front. Movie Sonic is very much a hyperactive, energetic, pop culture referencing kid. To call this Sonic a inspiration or a larger-than-life force of nature, it just does not work. This Sonic goes through a lot of fears, he goes through a lot of change, he goes through a lot of growth, and I understand if you prefer that from a character. I'm not gonna stop you if you think static characters are boring or if you don't have much of an interest in them. However, that's what Sonic is, whether you like it or not. That's what Sonic was always intended to be. And he stayed that for many years before the Pontiac and Graph era, where the series basically just had this weird reboot where everyone didn't act the way they were supposed to. So for a big budget movie adaptation to take the main lead and drastically alter his personality and utilization in the larger stories is just, it's crazy. The larger thing that contributes to this is just the difference between Eastern and Western Sonic. Over in the East, Sonic is very much what Naruto Oshima and Yuji Naka always envisioned for the character. Meanwhile, due to a lot of localization differences over here in the West, we got a very different character than the one that was represented and intended for the games. So a lot of people who live basically everywhere else in the world that's not in the East have this very warped perspective of what Sonic is as a character rather than what he's actually supposed to be or was conceptualized to be, and so that would explain why the movies got him so wrong. I understand it, and I understand that a lot of general audiences and a lot of the casual fans, or even some of the hardcore fans, don't really have a problem with this, but I gotta be honest, I'm just not a fan of movie Sonic. Maybe as his own character he can somewhat work, but as a adaptation of game Sonic, it's a complete slap in the face. Thankfully, the other characters are nowhere near as mischaracterized. Knuckles is done right for the most part, but they do make him a lot more of a blockhead than he is in the games. And Dr. Robotnik is just Jim Carrey. And that his mannerisms is literally just Jim Carrey. I do think the idea of a disgruntled agent basically having this complete transformation into Game Robotnik is a really cool concept. But what works about Game Eggman is that he doesn't really need a reason to be evil. We don't really need a origin story for him. In movie, Eggman just does a lot of things that Game Eggman wouldn't. For example, in movie 3 from the show that we saw, he's retired, he's completely given up on trying to crush Sonic and take over the world, and that is just, I shouldn't have to explain that that's just not Eggman in the slightest. Shadow remains to be seen, but I am happy to say that Tails is pretty spot on. It does help that Colleen is voicing him as well, which gives him even more game authenticity, but yeah, no, Tails is done to perfection. So already we're starting off shaky, having a lot of these characters just not really reflect their game counterparts that well. But now let's shift over to another problem with the movie universe, that being its very, very grounded direction. I'm just gonna say it, I really enjoyed movie 1. In fact, I think structurally, movie 1 is a better film than movie 2 because it's a lot less bloated and it has a lot more time to breathe. I have a big soft spot for movie 1, I really do. I really enjoy it. But the creation of this film is very cynical in nature, that being to just take a well-known game character, plop him in the real world, and have a generic human meets weird cartoon creature road trip buddy cop movie. That's the entire direction of the first film. It's very akin to Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Smurfs. Just this is a very generic, kind of worn-out formula that died in the mid-2010s, so it's weird to see it back. And that worked fine for the first film, but the problem is that with movie 2 and movie 3 now trying to implement a lot more game elements, the foundation for which this universe was built, that being to basically just make a knockoff Alvin and the Chipmunks, has caused this entire franchise to just be very limited in how game-like it can be. The world of Game Sonic is very vibrant and very vast, with so many fantastical locations and areas, whereas the movie universe is mainly just set primarily in the human world. And we saw with the Knuckles series how that entire show was just a Wade Ripple show of Knuckles kind of just thrown in there. That kind of thing is what I'm talking about when I say this franchise just does not feel very Sonic-y, because at the end of the day, it will always just be that Alvin and the Chipmunks film that the first movie wanted to be. And it's missing a lot of the whimsical nature of the games and how that world works. Now, I'm not saying the films can't do stuff the games have, because they've most certainly proven that they can, but I mean, no Angel Island, no chaos. It's just like a lot of this stuff that made the game's worlds and locales feel so larger than life is just completely gone. What started as a very fast, adventurous hedgehog exploring vast worlds is now all about Sonic Wachowski, Tails Wachowski, and Knuckles Wachowski being the adoptive children of a normal, mundane couple. It's so weird. Now that we've talked about what really doesn't work about the movies when it comes to them being an adaptation, I want to talk about why just resetting everything and starting fresh with a new movie universe would be a great idea. The first thing I'm going to point to that everyone else has already pointed to, you've probably heard this a million times, animation. As much as I dig live action, the Sonic games are just built for it to be animated, okay? I mean, just look at all of this gorgeous scenery, these wonderful expressive characters. You can only do so much of that in live action. Seeing a 3D animated, or even a 2D animated, very stylized, kind of Spider-Verse-esque film adaptation of the games would be a dream come true. I talked about earlier how the games feel very fantastical and whimsy with just its world building and locales. Animation would do all of that so much justice. It would just be such a treat to look at, and they'd be a lot more expressive and free with animation just as a art form. The second and most obvious is the Sonic films could actually feel like the games. I want to talk about why movie 1 was the way it was. Not only was it done because, you know, just cynical Hollywood, they don't really care that much about the source material, but another reason why the movie 1 just took no chances and played it really safe is because Sonic was very much a big laughingstock by the late 2010s. However, now we are living in the Sonic Renaissance, where games are starting to sell really well and are receiving a lot of critical acclaim. We've already proven that Sonic can thrive when it comes to just theatrical films, and there is so much supplementary material being released that is doing great, that are making big waves. The Sonic is back as an icon. And now that they know what this franchise is worth and that there are so many passionate fans behind it, we can finally take some chances. We could finally get a movie universe where it's not built off of a Alvin and Chipmunks foundation, but from the start just completely embraces what makes Sonic, well, Sonic. We could also get the game VAs in there as well. And I'm not even really a big fan of the game VAs, at least the current cast, but man, they've been voicing these characters for years, and it feels so disrespectful that not have them be voicing their movie counterparts and instead just be selling on big Hollywood names. We could really just have the games, but with the benefit of a movie format. Now, how sick does that sound? Nowadays, Sonic fans have to defend everything like their life depends on it, but guys, like, you don't have to settle for less. You can ask for this. You can ask for something this great, and it could come true. Like, this is what I'm talking about, where, think about something like Dark Beginnings. We could literally have 2 hours of that, but it's the entire Sonic cast, and that passion and that spectacle is there. To me, those are the Sonic films I'd rather watch. But yeah, now that we've reached the end of this video, again, I want to say that these movies are good in their own right. Completely isolated, these are perfectly fine children's movies, and they have a lot of good humor, they have a lot of cool spectacle, and a very charming cast. But at the same time, they are just not at all reflective of the source material, which I would argue is even greater. If I asked you, the viewer, which do you prefer, Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic Wachowski, I think we both know which one you'd answer with. And that's my answer too. But yeah, movie 3 looks like a fun time, and I am going to be watching it, and I will be giving my thoughts, and I really do hope everyone has a good time with it. It does look like that the movie team put a lot of care and passion and heart into it. So December 20th will be a good time all around, regardless if it's what I personally would want or not. But anyways, what do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you not? Do let me know in the comments, and I will see you all later. Bye for now.